Welcome back to the build of the Strike Freedom Gundam. In the last video, I was able to get the ankle joints and the thighs for the skeleton. Here I'm going to be continuing with the leg skeleton, and I'll be getting a little bit of a start on the plates. As with the rest of it, I am constructing the legs two at a time. They are, after all, identical except for the orientation of the hip units, the hip joints. The key thing to keep in mind when doing this is that you need to make sure to clip all the parts at the same time and then sort them into two distinct groups when you do. So on the back of the calf unit, there is a small plate that generally is closed, but in the anime is open when the unit takes off. It's a thruster port, I think. Anyway, because I've been painting most of the leg green, I did go ahead and paint the outside of this unit as well. But as always, when you first getting off, you need to shave your nubs off. Again, as always, be careful when you do that. You don't want to gouge the primary part if you can avoid it. You also, of course, don't want to cut yourself. So for painting, I am holding them in my pliers. I do have a pair of nice pliers that work well for this. And then painting the outside and the edges. I did not paint the inside of this particular piece. So one of the interesting things when you're painting, of course, you don't want to put something paint down. And that can be tricky as some of the smaller pieces, such as these panels that I just completed. So I was very careful to kind of hold them with my pliers and then kind of put them down in such a way that I gradually let go of them, and they would lay right side up on the paper. So even putting them together, I am, as before, trying to keep everything in their paired sets. After putting the pieces together, I will usually check some of the articulation, especially on the ones that are articulated, just to make sure that they are going together correctly. So at this point, I started to look at it and figure out a few steps ahead which of the pieces were going to form the armor plates. And I'm snipping them out and lining them up in pairs, keeping left and right leg plates across from each other. These are identical pieces, but of course I want to keep them in order so that I know exactly which piece is which, according to where they're used and when they're used in the instructions. I am going to be painting these particular pieces. They form the calf and thigh of the leg. First off, though, I need to shave them, trim the nubs off, and make sure they are all flush. Of course, when you're working with this many pieces, all trimmed out, all cut out, and especially when you're working with painting, you want to give them all time to dry, and that means you need to work in a particular pattern usually. And so I'm going from the top down, left, right. Just like reading a book.